Welcome to another video of learning statistics using R. In this video, we will learn about sampling and different methods of sampling. Why do we need sampling first? Sampling is required for statistical inference, drawing statistical inference from a population. Statistical inference means conclusion from some evidence. And statistical inference is basically built up comprising of two things: estimation and hypothesis testing. Estimation means estimating value of specific population parameter. Parameter like mean, median, standard deviation, etc. Estimating the values of those parameters of a population. And hypothesis testing is testing whether the value of a population parameter is equal to some specific value. You have a specific value in your mind, maybe a threshold value or something, and whether the population parameter is equal to that specific value is called hypothesis testing. So two new terms, one is population and one is estimate. What is population? Population is collection of entire data set uh, related to some fact. Subset of the sample is subset of the population. So how do we pick up a subset from the entire data set? Subset will be, how do we pick up subset from the entire data set? So there must be some method for picking up subsets from the entire data set. Those methods are known as sampling. Through sampling, we will pick up subset of the population from the entire data set. So sampling is very important for estimation and hypothesis testing, that is for statistical inference, that is drawing conclusion from some evidential data, that is statistical data.
So sampling is defined as the process of selecting certain members or a subset of the population to make statistical inferences from them and to estimate the characteristics. That estimate means the estimation that I have already told you, the estimation. But before going to the estimation, we need to sampling. So for example, suppose a drug manufacturer company is going to conduct a research on the adverse effects of side effects of a drug. But now, obviously, that company is not going to door to door and apply the drug to everybody, each and everybody, to study the effect. This is not possible, right? So the entire population means the whole countrymen. They are not going to each and every countryman and going to apply the drug and to overview the side effects. That is not possible. In fact, what they do is they prepare a sample from the population. Now, how do they prepare the sample? That is known as sampling. There are news channels. They try to uh, anticipate the result of the vote, and that anticipation is known as exit poll, right? You have heard the term exit poll. Exit polls mean anticipation of the result of the voting. And how do they do that? You'll know that they do not come to each and every people whoever have voted, right? If 130 crore of people have voted in India, they do not come to each and every people who have voted. Rather, they take a sample from the whole population. That sample may be say 100 people or 1,000 people. They do not get access to all 130 crore people. Rather, they just select a small subset of the whole population, and that subset is called sample. Now, they ask question to those sample. Quality of the anticipation is dependent on the sampling. What is a good sampling? What is a bad sampling? If the sample of the population sample of the population represent the characteristics of the population, then it's a good sampling. In case of exit poll, if that sample of 100 people contains suppose that contains only students. If the news company suppose come to your college and they ask your opinion on the voting, then it will be a biased opinion. Why? Because you are student. You are representing only one category of the whole population, of the whole community, right? Because there are farmers, there are industrialists, there are academicians, researchers, there are various kind of people in the entire society, housewives, etc. So you are only one category of population representing in that sample. So that sampling is not a very good, is not a good sampling. So the exit poll result will go wrong, right? What will be a good sampling? The 100 that same number of samples, that is 100 only, can be a good sample if they take they consider each and every category: 2 students, 5 farmers, 5 housewives, 10 industrialists, like that. If they build up a sample by taking the variety in our society, it will be a good sample from the whole population. So I can call that sample represent the whole population. So this will be a good sampling for example. Suppose we want to characterize the distribution of birth weights. The distribution means normally we take distribution, if we do not know anything about the distribution, we take it as the normal distribution. So every distribution has mean and variance. We can, if we have the mean and variance of a normal distribution, then we can check for any probability from the normal table, right? So suppose in 2013 in United States, the research is going on for that, for infant babies of and for that they need to measure the, they need to find out the mean and variance of the distribution. For that, ideally that distribution contains of entire population, consists of entire population, so that mean and standard deviation also should be from the entire population. But this task is very difficult for, say, for India or USA, for any country. If you take the infant number of births in a day, it is very large, in lakhs, in number is in lakhs. So you cannot get access to the data from whole country, right? So this is a large data set and it is very difficult to measure, to estimate the mean and standard deviation. So instead of doing that, if you decide to select a random sample of n number, say 100 number of infants, and from that we can measure mean and standard deviation very easily. What is random sample? How do we find that random sample? That is our task. Through sampling, we can find the set of n infant babies. From there, we can find the mean and variances. So before estimation, we need to figure out the sample. So now you know why to sample and what is the criteria for a good sampling. Now, what is the technique of sampling? What are the techniques that is available for sampling? These are the techniques that are available for sampling. Basically, 2 techniques are there. One is known as probability based and other is non-probability based. In probability based sampling, it is also known as random sampling. There are 4 subtypes: simple random sampling technique, systematic technique, cluster sampling technique, and stratified random sampling technique. Whereas in non-probability based, non-random sampling techniques, there are convenience sampling, judgmental or purposive sampling, snowball sampling, and quota sampling. The name are maybe different, but that is like this judgmental sampling is also known as purposive sampling. So the names may be somewhat different, but there are 4 subcategory of non-probability sampling and 4 subcategory of probability based sampling. So we'll start with the probability based sampling first. So probability based sampling means that each and every member of the population has a chance of being selected. If you want to produce result that are representative of the whole population, then you need to use a probability sampling technique. That means, suppose we start with the simple random technique first. So each and every member in the population has a chance of being selected, has a probability of being selected. Now we start with simple random sampling first. In a simple random sampling, every member of the population has an equal chance of being selected. First, in a random sampling, I said that they have a chance, every member has a chance of being selected. If the chance is equal for each and every member, then we say that this sampling technique, this random sampling technique is simplest of the random sampling technique. So it will frame the whole population, obviously, because every member in the population have equal chance of getting selected. Now, for example, suppose we want to select random sample of 100 employees. So each and every employee has equal probability of getting selected. That is, suppose P is the probability of getting selected, then each and every employee has a probability of P of getting selected. And usually a random number generator is used to select 100 numbers. If a population of 100 has to be selected from 1000, then a random number generator is used to select 100 numbers. So now we will see what is random number generator first. Suppose we have a number consisting of only one digit like this, then how do we select, how can we select that single digit? Now this digit can be anything between 0 and 9, 0 to 9. This digit can be anything between 0 to 9, right? So what is the probability of getting selected? Probability of any digit is how much? 1 by 10. Because I have to select only a single digit out of 10 digits. The probability of selecting any digit is 1 by 10. So any random number between 1 and 10, I can generate that random number. Suppose I generate a random number that is 5. So I select 5 here as the random digit. Now, suppose the number consists of more than one digit. Suppose the number consists of 3 digits. So, if the number consists of 3 digits, then 3 random number has to be generated. 3 random number has to be generated. The number can be anything between, now the number can be anything between 000 to 999, right? So for the first decimal place here, I can generate any number from 0 to 9. For the second decimal place also, I can generate any number from 0 to 9, and so on. I can generate for here, I can generate any number from 0 to 9. Here also I can generate any number from 0 to 9. And the third decimal place also, I can generate any number from 0 to 9. This is how we can generate a random number consisting of n number of digits. The next technique is systematic sampling. In systematic sampling, it is pretty much similar to the random sampling, but it is usually easier to conduct. Why easier to conduct? Because we do not need to generate any random number. Rather, individuals are chosen at regular intervals. If you see the figure here, systematic selection of samples, the interval is constant. Now, if you just select the first element randomly, the next element will be chosen very easily if you know the interval, if you select the interval. So that is how a systematic sampling works. All employees of the companies are listed in alphabetical order from the first 10 numbers. You randomly select a starting point. Starting point has to be selected randomly. And then, depending upon the interval, you select the next persons. That is how it works. The next technique is stratified sampling. In case of this sampling method, first you need to divide the population into subgroups. That subgroups are called strata. You divide the population into subgroups. Where it is used in case of the stratified sampling? Stratified sampling is used when the population has mixed characteristics. When the population has mixed characteristics. So Then we divide the population into subgroup based on the relevant characteristics. For example, here a company suppose has 800 female sample that employees and 200 male employees. Now, if we need to sample this population, the good sampling or correct sampling will be that sampling that contains the proportion of the female and male employees 8:2, because the population has a female is to male ratio of 8:2. So the ratio must hold in the sample as well. We divide the whole population into two parts. First part is the obviously the female part containing 800 female employees, and the second part is the male part containing 200 male employees. And from the female employees, we can select, sorry, 800 C 80. That is how we can select 80 female out of 800 females. And for male, we will have 200 C 20. This is how we can select 20 male students from 200 male students. The next method is called cluster sampling. In cluster sampling, it also involves dividing the population into subgroups, but each subgroup should have similar characteristics to the whole sample. Now, here the subgroup selection is important. In cluster sampling, the subgroup selection is important. The subgroups are basically known as clusters. Now, each and every cluster of size 100 will contain, each and every cluster will contain 80 female and 20 male. Each and every cluster will contain this ratio of 80 female student and 20 male student. How do we sample then? We can select any cluster out of the 10 cluster with a probability of 1/10. The selection criteria for cluster will be random. In case of stratified sampling, the strata are the subgroups. In case of cluster sampling, cluster are the subgroups. But in case of stratified sampling, one or two observations are selected from the stratas, each and every strata. In cluster sampling, whole cluster has been selected. Whole cluster, no subgroups of the cluster, right? Whole cluster is selected. In a non-probability sampling, individuals are selected based on non-random criteria. So it's a cheaper method than the earlier one, probabilistic approach. But you can't use it to make valid statistical inferences about the whole population. Why? Because the sample does not represent the whole population. That is why you cannot say that my sample, any inference you can draw from my sample is also true for the, but it's a cheaper technique and it also have some particular benefits associated with it. How many kinds of non-probabilistic approach are there? Four kinds of non-probabilistic approach. Start with convenience sampling. So convenience sampling is the very cheap one. It is the cheapest one actually. Convenience means this sampling technique includes the individual who happens to be most accessible to the researcher. If you are a researcher and you want to select 5 individuals in your sample, suppose you have discovered or you have generated a drug and you want to apply the drug on 5 individuals, a sample of 5 individuals, then it is very convenient to you if you select 5 of your very good friends, right? So that is the convenience sampling. The next is voluntary response sampling. In the same case, if you invented a drug and in your class you declare that I need a sample of 5 individuals, please raise your hand whoever want to work as a volunteer, whoever want to be volunteer, I will apply the drug on those 5 only. So that is called voluntary response sampling. In the third one, it known as purposive sampling technique. In the purposive sampling technique, researchers using their judgment to select a sample. Judgment means it may be your sentiment or it may be a particular criteria of your research. Suppose you have discovered a drug and or some chemical compound, and you think that this chemical compound may be relevant to diabetics, or may be relevant to the patient having diabetes. So you will only select you select 10 individuals to be your sample. Then you will be judgmental on in selection, right? You do not randomly select any 10 sample. Suppose you select 5 diabetes patient and 5 non-diabetic patient, like that. Another example, you want to know more about opinions and experience of disabled student at your university. So you purposefully select a number of students with different support needs in order to gather a varied range of data, right? So you are selecting only the children with special abilities, right? Disabled student. The fourth one and the last one is known as snowball sampling. In snowball sampling, what you do is you select leaders from the population. You can, if you cannot reach the whole population, here if you see the figure, you cannot reach the whole population. This is your whole population. You cannot reach the whole population directly. Then you go for this sampling technique, snowball sampling. What you do in snowball sampling, you select, rather than going to the each and every individual or getting connected each and every individual, you select few snowballs or leader of the community. Suppose going with the same example of exit poll, are not in a position to build clusters or stratified go through the stratified approach. What we will do, we will pick some leaders, one leader from student community, one leader from say farmer community, and that leader of the student community will give you the opinion of the students. He will go to the students and ask their opinion. You will not go, you will not reach directly to the students, rather you will reach indirectly via the leader. That leader is known as the snowball. You have a snowball leader from student community, you have a snowball leader from farmers community, you have a snowball leader from the industrial community, and that snowballs or the leaders actually gathers the public opinion. You do not gather the public opinion. What you gather is the result, end result from those snowballs. So these are the 4 sampling techniques from non-random sampling or non-probabilistic approach. Now I will just produce some difference between probability and non-probability approach. Probability approach is also known as random sampling method. Non-probability is also known as non-random sampling method. In probability approach, the population is selected randomly. On a non-probability approach, the population is selected arbitrarily. That is very easy to understand, going by the name of the approaches. In case of probabilistic sampling, the research is conclusive in nature, so you can draw good conclusion from probabilistic sampling. But non-probability sampling method, it is upon the researcher to draw explanation, right? It is upon you to draw an explanation. The result would not definitely explain something. In case of probability sampling technique, population demographics, that is the characteristics, is conclusively represented. In case of probability, since it is from either you are going judgmental or you are selecting the snowball, so it is the demographics is not fully represented. Rather, you may be skewed towards something. If you are selecting only disabled person, then your sample is skewed towards the disability. Obviously, in case of probability sampling, the time taken will be longer because you have to select the random numbers, generate the random numbers, and or you have to generate the clusters, or you have to generate the strata, and based on the strata, you have to select like that. So time taken will be longer in case of probability sampling, and I am saying the non-probability approach are very cheap, so the method is very quick. Uh, if you go by the result, the probabilistic sampling is entirely unbiased because you have randomness throughout, and each and every individual has equal probability of getting selected, like that. So the result is not biased and it is conclusive, as I said. In case of non-probabilistic sampling, you are selecting some you are selecting sample on basis of some criteria. or you are going judgmental, or you are selecting through the snowballs. So in each and every case, there is possibility of biasness. Sampling, you have a hypothesis well before you have started your research. You have an hypothesis in your mind, like suppose a number in your mind. If you have like certain blood pressure level, after that blood pressure, you can call the person suffering from high blood pressure, like that. And in case of non-probabilistic sampling, the hypothesis is derived after the research, right? Because you have selected certain persons, they are disabled person. You do not have any hypothesis to render from that. After the research has been conducted, you can render any hypothesis from your result. So in case of probabilistic sampling, the hypothesis is already decided before the research has been started. In case of probabilistic, non-probabilistic approach, your hypothesis is going to be derived from your result. It is up to the researcher to derive the or render the hypothesis from the result.